Hello, everybody. Hey there, this is John, and welcome to HerbMentor Live. And Rosalee is going to be joining me in just a moment. And I'd love to see if you're all there and where you're from, and put in the comments there in the chat thread. If you let's see here, if you are on Facebook, watching on Facebook, use the chat thread that's attached to this video, and not like Facebook Messenger, because that won't go to us. We won't see that. And of course, if you are on watching on YouTube, you can log in, I guess, to the Google account or YouTube account, wherever you're at there. And that should enable you then to, like chat and see stuff there on the chat thread. And at any point, something gets stuck, you need whatever, just refresh your screen or go back to the link. It's all broadcast on Facebook and YouTube, so it's pretty reliable, and should be able to get back to all of that easily. Let's see here. We got some folks coming in. We have Asha Cat. Hello. We have Leah Jacobson from New Hampshire. Marcia from Seneca, South Carolina. Allison Gonzalez from New Mexico. Leah. Bonnie from Texas. So I hope you are in a place where obviously you have power because you're on here. So I hope you're doing okay there. And folks, everyone in Texas. Snowy Toronto. Wendy from Minnesota. Wow, lots of folks on. Sharon from North Carolina. Mary Lou. So you got, trying to keep up here. Lynn Moore from Western Montana. Whitestown, Indiana, Charisse and Wynn from the UK. Hey there. Heather from Nashville, Fifi, Florida, and Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Jennifer, Charlotte from Thomasville, Georgia, Dublin, Ireland. We got Susan Kelly. Welcome. We got Marit from Poland. Sorry. Kalia from Alabama. Maryland, Pamela, and Susan from Ohio. I'm having to skip now because Isabel from Belgium, Maria from California, and let's see, freezing cold and snow in Arkansas. Fern, sorry about that. It's actually quite sunny and mild here, way up here. I am so far north of most of you here, Rosalee and I, up here in Washington State, and at least where I am, it's nearly 50 and sunny, which has been wonderful. Sorry if if that's making you jealous, but most of the time my weather does not make anybody jealous, so don't worry about that. Candace, Australia. Hi, Sonia. And Judy from Tennessee. Susan for freezing, no power, 32 degrees in the house. Oh my gosh. I guess you're watching. Don't use up your cell phone battery. Hope you have some extra charge there. Someone needs to run a cable down to her from Oklahoma. That would be handy. And Brooke from Colorado. So many folks here, and we just have a minute here, and I'll get started. From West Cork in Ireland, we got early spring here. Agnes, Margaret, Sacramento, Linda, California, Julie from Windsor, UK. All right, Northern Utah, Vicky, hello. Spokane, okay, Rhea. And then Northern California. Rhea, you know when someone says Spokane that they're actually from Washington because they know how to pronounce it correctly. Miranda from Michigan. When I was growing up in New Jersey, I thought it was Spokane for some reason. I moved here like, no, it's Spokane. We even called Oregon when I was in the East Coast when I was growing up, and I learned that one immediately. It's not Oregon, it's Oregon. Bothell, that's close. I lived in Carnation for a long time. Rosalee lived out there too, in the Duval Carnation area. Kim Walsh Lyon from Texas. All right, cool. All right, looks like it's 1 o'clock. I'm just going to get started and bring Rosalee on. Okay, welcome everybody to, what is this? Oh yes, it is HerbMentor Live. We like to get the members together and meet up and get some questions answered and just have that personal connection because we miss you, and it's always good to get in touch and get some questions answered and whatnot. And with me today is Rosalee de la Forêt. Rosalee is author of Alchemy of Herbs, co-author of Wild Remedies. She is a professional member of the American Herbalists Guild. She's been with Learning Herbs and on HerbMentor since the very beginning. I'd like to welcome Rosalee. Hello, Rosalee.
Hey, John. Hey, everyone.
We are here. It's just so great seeing everyone on here. Looking at all those questions there. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, John. I lived in Ireland for a while. I didn't know you had such a passable accent there.
Oh yeah. For a year in Ireland, that'll do that. I can do the different parts of the country. I can do a Belfast accent, a Dublin accent, a Cork accent, and actually a
Wow.
County Galway accent. Hey, and even a Donegal accent too. But I'm not going to do that. I don't want to show off. So let's see. Everyone's saying hi here, and so Rosalee, I'm gonna take off those names because people know who we are at this point. And so we're on our Mentor Live here. And Rosalee, we've been doing these for off and on or here and there for like 12 years now, right?
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
I mean, we used to do them like a teleconference software where you dial in and just listen on your phone back in the
day. Yeah.
In the 2007 technology.
Yeah.
So today, Rosalee, we're gonna answer some questions, your herbal questions, and Rosalee is excited to do that. Right? I mean, I'm assuming you're excited to do this.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna talk about turmeric, and then we're gonna do Q&A about turmeric, or possibly some other things. But yeah, I'm excited to be here.
And
it sounds like there's kind of a delay with my audio, John. Is that the case? Or I kind of feel like there's an echo or something.
Well, I think it sounded okay to everybody. You sound okay to me.
Okay,
maybe we could just. I think it could be, we could ask everyone when I talk, when Rosalee talks. Is everything going all right? Sound good? Maybe it'll take a
test, but yeah, it just seems like there's an echo or a little bit of a delay. Hopefully, if there is one, it's not too bad.
I don't hear it.
Okay, good.
So yeah. So I think it's okay. We'll probably see in a second a bunch of those comments popping up. Sounds okay. Okay, because there is actually a real 30-second delay when we talk and you see the comments. So getting the feedback echo sound here. It does sound a little off when she talks. Everything sounds good. I hear an echo. Oh boy, I think it's all over the place. I hear you fine.
All right.
We're just gonna go with it. I think once you start talking, it usually
I'm going to do more talking, so that should work out just fine.
Rosalee is wobbly. I think there's that old bandwidth thing, so we never know. So it goes back and forth. So Rosalee, would you like to take some questions first, or let's just go in and talk about turmeric?
Yeah, let's go. Let's dive into turmeric.
Okay, great.
Maybe I could just give a little intro here in that John and I were discussing what should we do for HerbMentor Live. We thought, we'll do a Q&A. And then what was like Monday night or something, John was like, are we going to do a presentation? And I was like, I thought it was just Q&A, but we both like the idea of a presentation. So I said, well, I've got some turmeric things I can share, and I already have some things created. But of course, when I, looked at those already created things on Tuesday, I was like, oh, this could be so much better. So I've just spent pretty much all day Tuesday and this morning preparing a whole brand new, never before seen presentation for you all. So I'm excited for it. Might be a little rough around the edges, but the pictures are pretty and the information is solid. So I think it'll work out. And it is so much fun to see so many of you. I recognize so many of your names from HerbMentor and our Facebook group and everything. So yeah, it's good to see everybody. All right. So I can just
want to give a shout out to Angela Rahim. Angela Rahim is here. So hey, Angela, I just want to say hi because she sounds excited from Baltimore. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to you put those slides up and I'll put them up and all right, I'm going to add this to the stream and then stay out there. And I'm going to turn it over to you, to Rosalee for turmeric. Enjoy, everyone.
Wonderful. All right. Yeah. So as John said, I'm going to do this short presentation. Besides sharing about kind of information or facts about turmeric, I'm also going to point out some great HerbMentor resources and recipes, that sort of thing. And then, at the end of it all, we'll be here to keep chatting, discussing, and having Q&A. So thanks again to all of you for being here, and let's chat about turmeric. So turmeric is easily one of the most popular herbs of our time. It's highly traded across the world, and it's used extensively in India, China, and Africa. It's used both as food and medicine. And then, of course, here in the US, it's growing in popularity. It's used, growing, increasingly used as medicine. And interestingly, its most common use right now in the United States is as a part of mustard. It's what gives mustard its kind of orange or yellow, I should say yellow color. So, well, most of us are familiar with turmeric as an orange powder, and you can readily find that, of course, at grocery stores or in online herbal apothecaries. But I wanted to show you some photos of this beautiful tropical plant. Aren't those flowers just spectacular? And I couldn't decide which flower photo to show, so we have lots of flower photos. Turmeric has been a beloved spice in India for thousands of years. They estimate they have proof of at least 4,000 years of use, but probably used much longer than that. And as mentioned, it's found in Indian cuisine. It's found in Ayurvedic medicine. And India currently grows most of the world's turmeric, and it also consumes 80% of it. In Western herbalism, we most often use the root or the rhizome. We often say turmeric root. Technically, it's a rhizome, but those are used pretty interchangeably. And if you're thinking, hey, that looks a little bit like ginger, you're right. They are related. But of course, if you cut into ginger, it has kind of a creamy yellow color. You cut into turmeric and it's bright orange. If you are interested in growing turmeric and having a fresh supply of it yourself, you can grow the plants. It can be grown in USDA zones 8 or higher. And people also grow it in their greenhouse or in their house if they have a warm and brightly lit place. So before we dive into turmeric, I also want to mention curcumin. Curcumin is an isolated chemical constituent of turmeric, and it's been heavily studied in human clinical trials. So I want to bring it up because I'm going to be talking about it in the presentation. And I also just want to give my opinion, which is that while there might be a time and place for isolated chemicals, when we regularly choose isolated chemicals over whole foods and spices, we really miss the wider range of benefits. And I kind of think of this as like an impressionist painting. While the individual brushstrokes can be fascinating and they are an important part of the painting, if you only focus on those brushstrokes, then you really miss out on getting the whole picture. So while curcumin might be good for some specific diseases, there are countless constituents in turmeric that synergistically work together. So I recommend using whole turmeric to get the widest range of benefits for everyday health. Nonetheless, there are a lot of human clinical trials involving curcumin, and so I'll be sharing some of those. And whenever I'm sharing studies, I'll make a point of mentioning whether whole turmeric was used or curcumin. All right, let's talk turmeric, and let's begin with energetics. Well, turmeric has both a pungent and bitter taste, and herbs with these two predominant tastes are often wonderful for digestion, which is the case here. We're going to talk about that soon. Energetically, turmeric is slightly warming, but it has a much more pronounced drying effect, which is an important aspect of understanding how best to work with turmeric. In fact, I consider that drying factor just a critical way to understand how best to work with turmeric. So we'll be talking about that later on today too. So what do we use turmeric for? Well, just about everything. So while I was researching turmeric recently, I reviewed hundreds of studies involving turmeric and curcumin both. And at times, I just felt like I could go into the PubMed search database and into their search bar, and I could just type in like turmeric plus, and then I could just enter whatever disease I could think of, and I would get results. It's really amazing. There is truly a lot of turmeric and curcumin research out there. So looking at this list of the many ways that we can work with turmeric for health, it might seem a bit unbelievable. Like, how can one herb do so much? It may be due to turmeric's incredible ability to modulate inflammation. So sometimes this action is referred to as being anti-inflammatory, but it's important to know that turmeric doesn't act like an over-the-counter or OTC drug, like a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug like ibuprofen. In many ways, turmeric is a lot more sophisticated than those over-the-counter drugs. So while inflammation often gets a bad reputation, not all inflammation is bad. Inflammation, especially acute inflammation, like with an injury, can be a really important part of the body's healing process. Inflammation, it's like inside your body, you're waving this big flag at the scene of an accident to communicate that there's a problem. So when you get injured, inflammatory hormones happen, and you're basically saying like, hey, this area needs help. So simply shutting down an inflammatory process without addressing why the inflammation is present is really problematic. As herbalists and other holistic practitioners like to point out, we like to get to the root of the problem. And furthermore, it's now known that long-term use of over-the-counter medicines like anti-inflammatories can lead to serious problems such as ulcers and bleeding in the digestive tract. So there's concerns with using those long-term. Turmeric, in its sophisticated genius, modulates inflammation. It actually heals the digestive tract. And there's even evidence that turmeric can protect against gastric mucosal damage that are induced by these NSAIDs. So that's my story about why it's more accurate to say that turmeric modulates inflammation rather than say it's anti-inflammatory. And I'm going to be talking about turmeric modulating inflammation a lot. So I wanted to get that up front. All right, so inflammation really plays a significant role in so many modern chronic diseases like cancer, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune disorders, asthma, all sorts of arthritis, ulcerative colitis, periodontitis, eczema, psoriasis. I could go on and on. So yeah, a lot of these really have this underlying issue that's linked to chronic systemic inflammation. And when I think about this, when I think about inflammation and chronic disease, and I think about how spices like turmeric and other herbs can be used to address inflammation, it really makes me think, what's the best use of this spice? Is it to address diseases that we already have? Or, in this case, maybe it would be better to use it preventively. All right, so I also want to talk about glutathione. So glutathione is a protein our body makes naturally, and it's making the headlines right now. Maybe you've heard of it because we're really beginning to understand how it has this incredible antioxidant ability, and it also supports natural detoxification. It's sometimes called the mother of antioxidants because it recycles antioxidants. And it's considered to be an important part of addressing many chronic diseases. And it's also just a part of natural everyday health. Your body is utilizing glutathione every single day, as I mentioned, for things like natural detoxification and modulating inflammation. So as a result of our growing understanding of this, taking glutathione supplements is a really growing trend right now in the natural health world. But, of course, I'm biased towards the whole plant here. Why would we take a pill of glutathione when we can use this whole spice, turmeric, which naturally stimulates our own glutathione production? All right, moving on, let's talk about turmeric and digestion and the liver. Sometimes herbs that help us with digestion, they do one thing really well. So, for example, they might relieve digestive cramps, or maybe they stimulate bile to better digest fats. But turmeric is not this one-hit wonder. This is really an impressive herb that seemingly does it all when it comes to addressing digestive complaints or even maintaining healthy digestion. And it can also strongly support liver health. So one of the things that we often like to reach for turmeric for is for stagnant digestion. And stagnant digestion, symptoms of that include things like bloating, gas, or this heavy feeling in the gut after eating. So it's kind of like, what's basically happening is you eat food and you don't have great food motility, or your digestion is slow or stagnant. So it just feels like your food is just sitting around, for too long. And turmeric is a way to get your digestive system moving and get things moving along. And so turmeric can be added to meals if you know that you have issues with stagnant digestion, or you can add it to meals simply to maintain digestive health. Turmeric is astringent, and that means that it tightens and tones mucosal membranes, and that has an affinity for toning the digestive tract. So herbalists reach for turmeric when there's laxity within the digestive system. That's things like loose bowels or leaky gut, called intestinal permeability. And turmeric is often also used for ulcers because it tones the surface of the ulceration or the wound. It decreases inflammation. It can stop bleeding and also helps to prevent infection. So it's really great for ulcers. And there's been several interesting studies regarding turmeric and curcumin and their ability to address ulcers. There was an older study done where patients with ulcers were given 3 grams of turmeric capsules in divided doses throughout the day. So it's not too much turmeric, totally doable. And then after 12 weeks, 76% of the people in the study no longer had ulcers. So that was impressive results. There's been a recent systemic review of randomized controlled clinical trials, and they reported that curcumin is a safe and effective therapy for maintaining remission in patients with ulcerative colitis. So this is really a heavy hitter for lots of digestive issues. And as mentioned, turmeric is also great for the liver. There was a 2019 systemic review of randomized controlled trials, and it showed strong evidence that turmeric and curcumin have a positive effect for people with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And they saw that this was possible because it was reducing ALT and AST, which are basically liver enzymes that can be measured to address liver health. So all around, lots of amazing things for turmeric, digestion, and the liver. Moving right along, turmeric protects the heart. Many of the common heart problems that we see today are actually rooted in systemic inflammation. So with turmeric's ability to modulate inflammation, it's a great ally for addressing heart health issues or for simply maintaining heart health. Oops, I think there. Okay, so here's this interesting study. A group of healthy volunteers aged 40 to 60 were split into 2 groups. One group received a low dose of curcumin extract, and the other group was given a placebo. Those receiving the turmeric extract were shown to have reduced triglyceride levels and other inflammatory markers associated with heart disease as compared to those taking the placebo. You can tell I had a fun time making this slide. Okay, I know sometimes the studies can get kind of like, I don't know, lots of words, but I think it is interesting to look at them and just see, how they confirm how we're, as herbalists, are using these herbs. All right, so more on turmeric protecting the heart. Well, turmeric may even help people who already have heart disease. In one study, researchers showed that a curcumin extract reduced the risk of heart attack in people who had undergone coronary artery bypass grafting. There's also some evidence that turmeric and curcumin may improve systolic blood pressure when it's used long-term. Turmeric for flexibility and joint health. So turmeric has long been used to support the musculoskeletal system, especially for issues like chronic joint pain and arthritis. And you can work with turmeric both internally and externally to address these things. I read an interesting review of turmeric medicine, and in there it shared that a traditional remedy in India is a hot poultice made from turmeric and slaked lime, which then is applied to injuries, and that reduces pain and inflammation. And then turmeric, of course, can be taken preventively to keep the musculoskeletal system healthy. Turmeric is renowned for addressing all sorts of arthritis. One randomized controlled trial showed curcumin's ability to decrease inflammation in patients with osteoarthritis. The patients were split into 2 groups. One group received curcumin supplements, the other received a placebo. And after 6 weeks, those taking the curcumin supplements had lowered levels of systemic oxidative stress. So there's really just no question. Turmeric, curcumin, they relieve chronic systemic inflammation, which is often associated with arthritis and pain. Turmeric has also been shown to be as effective as ibuprofen in reducing pain, but without the undesirable negative gastrointestinal effects That's relatively common when you take ibuprofen. I've personally witnessed the amazing power of this spice, and so I wanted to share 2 client stories with you. One will say her name's Judy. She first came to see me, and she had severe pain in her fingers from both osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis, and she had a lot of difficulty performing just normal everyday activities like chopping vegetables was really difficult. At the time, she was taking 2 pharmaceutical drugs that had serious side effects, including a weakened immune system and a risk of sudden blindness. So Judy and I worked together. We created a customized plan to support her health, and one of the main herbs she started taking was turmeric. After only a week, I got an elated email from her. The debilitating pain in her hands was gone. And Judy worked closely with her endocrinologist to slowly reduce her medications. And within 6 months, she was off them completely. But she still had a pain-free life. So that was excellent. Another client of mine, we'll call her Susan, she'd been experiencing knee pain for almost a decade by the time I started working with her. And she complained about simple things like stepping from a road onto the curb caused her a lot of pain and discomfort. And she regularly took NSAIDs like ibuprofen just to make it through the day. And within 2 weeks of starting to take turmeric, all of her knee pain was gone for the first time in years, and she no longer needed to take over-the-counter pills for pain. So another wonderful success story. Now, these results I've seen with just 2 examples of my clients, Judy and Susan, are really typical of what I'd see with those starting to take turmeric for inflammatory pain. And every time I see how amazing it is, I am amazed. I'm also just a bit sad, just amazed that this spice has dramatically helped, but then a little bit of sadness that more people don't know about its powerful benefits. I think there's a lot of people out there who could wean off of things like ibuprofen and take turmeric instead. Okay, moving right along, let's look at turmeric for the immune system and its anti-cancer properties. There are many studies showing that turmeric may prevent many types of cancer, as well as stop cancer from metastasizing. In a TED Talk from 2010, which I can't believe is 11 years ago now, I've been talking about this one for a while, but it is very interesting. Angiogenesis researcher William Lee explained how we can eat to starve cancer. So angiogenesis is the growth of blood vessels, and this is something that's normal. It happens every day in our body. But sometimes it's just not perfect process. So there can be too little angiogenesis, which can happen when there's wounds that won't heal, or there can be too much angiogenesis, which can result in some chronic diseases like cancer. So in this TED Talk, Lee highlighted turmeric as a substance that beneficially affected angiogenesis and also inhibited the growth of cancers. In this review, published in 2019, the authors point out that evidence suggests that the disorder of inflammatory pathways play a key role in cancer development, and also that curcumin exerts its immunomodulatory ability by interacting with several immune mediators, hence its anti-cancer property. There is an astounding amount of research regarding turmeric and curcumin and their effects on various types of cancer. And the list that you see there is just some of the cancers studied alongside curcumin and turmeric. Of course, just having a study doesn't prove anything, but the reason turmeric keeps getting all this attention is because there's so much promise there. One review of curcumin noted that of all the phytotherapies for cancer, so they're saying of all the botanicals that are being studied for cancer, curcuminoids seem to be the most promising. Another review had positive news for breast cancer patients. Clinical studies have demonstrated that curcumin alone or combined with other drugs exhibits promising anti-cancer activity in patients with breast cancer without adverse effects. All of the reviews, I've read so many reviews of turmeric and curcumin and cancer, and all of them have called for more human clinical trials. And I really hope that those get funded because that would be very interesting to see. Also, many noted that curcuminoids or curcumin is really poorly absorbed unless they're enhanced in some way. And they are, creating patented methods of enhancing curcumin. But my hope, of course, is that we could eventually see human clinical trials with turmeric as a whole herb rather than simply with these curcumin extracts. Well, we had to go there. Turmeric and COVID-19. There is a lot of interest right now regarding turmeric and curcumin in regards to addressing immune system inflammation, as well as for addressing symptoms of COVID-19. And so, but basically right now, what the stage that they're at is looking at these in vitro research. So looking at, what it is in a lab, and there haven't been any human clinical trials yet, but I hope that is something to come along the way. Well, turmeric is probably most famous for two things. One is to modulate inflammation, which I keep saying over and over again. And the other is its ability to strengthen cognitive health. And growing research shows that inflammation and cognitive decline are linked. Turmeric and curcumin are currently being studied extensively for their ability to protect and even restore cognitive health. One of the specific diseases that turmeric is being studied for is, of course, Alzheimer's. And Alzheimer's, like any chronic disease, is complex. So I'm not here to give you the impression that you can just swallow a few turmeric capsules and that's going to cure Alzheimer's. It is definitely way more complex than that. But there are some really interesting studies out there showing some benefits. For example, in a human clinical trial, turmeric was shown to improve the working memory of people who had pre-diabetes, as well as biomarkers for Alzheimer's disease. And Alzheimer's has, in the past several years or so, has been dubbed type 3 diabetes because of its strong correlation to metabolic syndrome. Speaking of that, let's talk about turmeric and type 2 diabetes. So this is, again, a complex metabolic disorder. It does have a strong roots in systemic inflammation. And as a result, because it creates this systemic inflammation, it affects numerous organ systems. Turmeric and curcumin can benefit type 2 diabetes patients in numerous ways by modulating inflammation and specifically by protecting the liver and the heart, as we've been talking about already, as well as kidney health. Turmeric might also help prevent someone from developing type 2 diabetes. In one trial, 240 pre-diabetic patients were divided into two groups. Then for 9 months, one group received curcumin supplements, the other group received a placebo. After 9 months of them taking these things, 16% of the placebo group had developed type 2 diabetes, whereas no patients in the curcumin group developed the progressed disease. So that was very interesting. Another aspect where turmeric may be helpful is that in type 2 diabetes, it's actually the most common cause of kidney failure, with about 44% of new cases being attributed to this chronic inflammatory disease. And research has shown that people taking turmeric had significant improvements in biomarkers that are risk factors for developing end-stage kidney disease. All right, so now that we've seen so many wonderful things that turmeric can do, let's discuss how best to work with it. Well, turmeric is regularly found as a dried powder in many stores or your favorite herbal apothecary. It's also increasingly available fresh at health food stores. Just a few years ago, my tiny health food store where I live very rurally started carrying fresh turmeric, which is very exciting to me. The best quality turmeric is going to be bright orange. If it's turned to a brown or a dull yellow shade, then you'll know it's not very fresh. So the image on the left looks like old turmeric to me because it has that kind of browner or more yellow shade to it. Whereas on the right with that gorgeous orange shade, that's really more ideal. And of course, having the best quality herbs really matters. Certifications can be an important part of knowing you have high quality herbs. These certifications require that herbs are tracked through the supply chain and held accountable to their standards. So buying organic means that the herbs, the land, and the people who were harvesting and processing those herbs weren't subjected to harmful chemicals. So that's very important. Makes no sense to buy something, for ourselves that's healing, that should be healing, but then has harmful chemicals in it. And then buying fair trade, like Fair for Life, ensures that the people who grew, harvested, and processed your herbs were treated with respect and also given a fair living wage. And I think we can all agree that we want our herbal use to support a healthy planet and a healthy community. And these are 2 examples of certifications that help to do that. Our friends at Mountain Rose Herbs, the online herbal apothecary, offer turmeric that's certified organic, fair trade, and kosher. You can find them by typing iwantherbs.com into your browser. And I just threw this in there because I'm super excited about this. Next week, herbalist and anthropologist Anne Armbrecht is publishing a book, and I highly recommend this book. It's called The Business of Botanicals, and it traces plants from their global origins to our kitchens. And I'm going to be honest, when I got the advanced copy of this book, I was like, I put it in my schedule of something like I had to read because I know it's an important topic and I know Anne and, I knew I had to read it. It was kind of like I should read it, right? But as soon as I started reading this book, it is such a delight to read. Anne tells lots of stories. You kind of get to hear about beginning of the Western herbalism movement, which she talks about in a great way. And it's also like part travelogue, right? Because Anne traveled all over the world looking at where our herbs come from. And it's very eye-opening. And I love that it's not oversimplified. I mean, this is a very complex subject, but like she'll answer things for you, like how to make sure that there's not cement in your herbs. Yeah. It's an incredible book. So that publishes next week. And again, highly recommended. I think everyone who buys herbs needs to read this book. And it's such a delight to read too. Okay, moving along. Turmeric, of course, isn't just medicine. It's a wonderful spice. You can use it regularly in foods and drinks. And we'll talk about some of those. If you're thinking about using it as medicine, then we want to talk about dosage because dosage matters. And dosage, a therapeutic dose, could be anywhere from 1 to 10 grams a day. And a gram is like more, if you're talking about the powder, it's more or less a teaspoon. If you're talking about double hot capsules, then it's 1 gram is 2 capsules. So sometimes when I was working with clients, they would want to use, they want to work with turmeric and they just wanted it in their food and they didn't want to take it as capsules. But if they needed to take like up to 10 grams a day, that starts to be not fun in food, right? So sometimes capsules are necessary in that regard. I most often use it as a powder or use it fresh. I don't often use it as alcohol, but there's some ideas about dosage for alcohol or for alcohol tincture there. All right, well, turmeric is full of amazing antioxidants and constituents, but it's not as easily absorbed by the digestive system. So here's some important tips for really getting the most out of the turmeric that you work with and increasing the bioavailability of the turmeric. And the first is to add a small amount, they say around 3% of freshly ground black pepper to your turmeric. This has long been the practice in Ayurveda. And science has confirmed that piperine, which is an extract of black pepper, increases the bioavailability of curcumin by as much as 2,000%. So we know that there's that link between piperine and curcumin. And then we also know traditionally black pepper is often used with turmeric. Another tip is to take your turmeric heated in an oil of some kind. That could be, like an olive oil or some type of vegetable oil. And turmeric is often prepared in whole milk as well, which is another type of healthy fat. And the heat and oil together help to better extract its constituents, making them more available for you. All right, let's talk some considerations. So first of all is that turmeric is very drying. And people regularly using turmeric or those taking it in higher dosages regularly might begin to notice that, wow, I feel so thirsty, or I have a really dry eyes. Dry eyes is a big one, or just dry skin. So they begin to notice like there's a lot of dryness coming up for me. And that is because turmeric is very drying. And so and with that, if somebody already has a lot of dryness, turmeric might not be the herb for them. Or it needs to be formulated in a way to offset that drying quality. So if you're taking turmeric and you're noticing like, oh yeah, I'm getting a lot of dryness, first step, you might want to take less turmeric. Or you can increase healthy fats and liquids and hydration in your diet and see if that helps to balance things out. Another special consideration is that it will stain everything yellow or orange that it comes into contact with. So just something to know. I have white countertops that do have some orange splotches on them, and thanks to turmeric. And larger than culinary amounts should be used with caution for people with bleeding disorders, known gallstones, and breastfeeding, but used, in normal food amounts, it should be fine. All right, let's talk recipes and resources. First of all, on HerbMentor, there's a turmeric monograph written by yours truly, and pretty much all of the information that I've shared today can be found in that presentation or in that monograph. And if you're curious about any of the research I've been sharing, I have all of it listed there. There's like 28 citations there, so it keeps you well informed. This I'm excited to share with you. I mentioned that my local health food store started carrying fresh turmeric. And so I've never been a juicer, but I started to get into it because fresh turmeric juice is so yummy. So this is something we commonly make in our house now. And I just kind of look at it now and I know about how much I like, but it's about a pinky finger length of fresh turmeric, and then about a thumb knuckles worth of fresh ginger, and about 3 small apples. And so you just juice all those up together. It's spicy, it's pungent, it's sweet, it's really yummy. So there's a recipe for you to try if you happen to have some fresh turmeric near you. Within HerbMentor, you'll find a recipe for making turmeric paste and turmeric milk, or what's commonly called golden milk. And this is a traditional preparation. It's a delicious way to enjoy turmeric. And it's called milk, but you can really use any type of milk substitute for this if you don't drink cow's milk. Lately, I've been using oat milk and hemp milk. Those are both delicious. Yeah, so this photo is a little bit of a teaser. Next week, I believe, we're sharing an article for my Love Your Liver tea. And in there is turmeric, dandelion root, cacao, orange peel, chicory. So yeah, keep your eyes out for that recipe coming out next week. And this is really easily one of my favorite teas, especially this time of year. And this is another favorite recipe. It's turmeric cacao no-bake cookies. And in prepping for this presentation and doing all these turmeric recipes, I really started to get a craving for these. So I'm actually going to make these this afternoon. But yeah, a no-bake cookie that uses yummy amounts of turmeric. Then turmeric doesn't always have to be, the star player in a recipe. Here's another recipe that's found on HerbMentor. It's my beet hummus recipe, and it's loaded with all sorts of colorful foods and antioxidants, including some turmeric. You don't have to eat turmeric. You can also play with it. Within HerbMentor, you'll find directions on how you can work with it as a dye. And it was fun for me to find this recipe or these directions because Tova, who you see there, she was once my young mentee, and we did lots of herbal things together. And now she's in her 2nd year of college. So she's grown up since we've done that. I first learned to love turmeric from my mentor, Kartapratik Singh Khalsa, or KP Khalsa. And referring to the myriad of things that turmeric does, he says, I call it the medicine cabinet in a jar. And you can hear more about inflammation and long-term health and turmeric in part 2 of the Relax series, which is taught by KP. All right, we're already there. Q&A time. Let me stop sharing here.
All right. I love this because thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you, Rosalee. It was, whenever you ask Rosalee for, 10-minute presentation on turmeric, and then you are incapable.
I didn't even look at the time yet. Yeah. That's the first time I've given that presentation.
Believe me, I don't think anybody minds. I don't think anybody minds. And if
Here's
you,
everyone. Here's
what do you got there?
this is the turmeric ginger juice.
Wow,
I thought it'd be fitting for a post presentation sip.
wonderful. And if anyone started that turmeric presentation halfway through, you want to see the whole thing. When this is all finished, just refresh the screen, YouTube and Facebook, and they play the lives from the beginning, and you can catch that again later. I know there were some questions about like recipes and things and all like that, and people talking about HerbMentor and Rosalee mentioning HerbMentor. Most of the folks here watching this are HerbMentor members and I always want to let everybody know that if you are not an HerbMentor member and you happened upon us here today somehow, somewhere, I put a little coupon, $10 off an annual membership. And the coupon code's turmeric, and it is valid just for today. So if you want to be sign up, be a member, you can just go to HerbMentor.com anytime today. Coupon code in the annual plan, turmeric, and you can join us there, and you can see all of these. The monograph on turmeric, you can see that Rosalee just did a lot of recipes, the relax course, and there's also really great stuff in turmeric in Rosalee's book, Alchemy of Herbs. There is a whole chapter on that, and there's recipes in here as well, and you can get that in any place that fine books are sold. Or if you want to make it easy on yourself, you can go to alchemyofherbs.com. So, all right, that was great. And by the way, Rosalee, I also have
you got an advanced copy too.
And if you stay tuned next week on the Learning Herbs Facebook page, you like us there or whatever, we are going to be posting a link to a webinar that Anne is doing with Rosemary Gladstar, and you can learn all about the book and learn all about the important stuff about the business of botanicals, exploring the healing promise of plant medicines in a global industry. A lot of stuff we don't usually think about. So please check that out. And Rosemary, and it's also always awesome. So the coupon you're wondering, I'm going to put right here. Somebody was wondering for turmeric, because I don't want to keep the thing on there, and HerbMentor.com. Oops. Okay. And you just go to HerbMentor.com. All right. So, there were so many questions coming in here, Rosalee, and your questions don't just have to be about turmeric, but I will just go on up here and put a question on the screen, and they were just kind of like coming on here. Let's see, here's one. Sayonara was asking, do you need to add pepper to the ginger turmeric juice?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that, even though I'd thought about it. That ginger also acts as kind of like a means of increasing bioavailability. It stimulates circulation in much the same way that black pepper does. So you could add it, but I think in this case, ginger kind of fulfills that role that the black pepper would do.
Is it okay to use turmeric in cooking every single day, even when gallstones are present? Agnes is asking.
My understanding is that it is, in normal culinary amounts, it's going to be just fine. So I don't know of any contraindications there.
Isn't turmeric a natural blood thinner as well? Jackie asks.
Yeah, it is interesting. Our understanding of how herbs work as blood thinners is definitely evolving. There used to be a lot of fear, about blood thinning herbs and taking that alongside, blood thinning medications. And that is evolving. And, it's just kind of one of those things we have to wait for people to figure out in some sense. But it is known to thin the blood. But I wouldn't. And I would say that it's commonly recommended that you stop taking it, say like a week before you get a major surgery. That is the recommendation. But, these things, they're hard to study because it's hard to ethically, ask people to take turmeric and then go into a surgery, right? We wouldn't want to do that. But so the common recommendation is to stop taking it before a surgery. We know that it does have some beneficial qualities on the blood. But I wouldn't worry about if you took a whole bunch of it, it's not, and you cut yourself, it's not like you wouldn't have a clotting factor anymore. So.
Lauren is asking, this is pretty basic, but the pictures I see of stored herbs are in clear jars a lot. And always wondered, always heard to use cobalt or amber. What's the answer?
It is better to keep herbs in a dark place. And I think a lot of photos are done for, to look pretty. And so, and it's easier to find clear jars. I have some amber jars, but no cobalt, and it's much easier to find clear jars. So what I do is I keep a lot of my herbs in clear jars, but I keep them in a cabinet or in a place that's dark. So that also works, but it does matter. When I was, a young herbalist, I used to kind of like poo-poo a lot of those, like, specific requirements or whatever. And I thought, oh, that can't really matter. I remember one time I had a whole bunch of raspberry leaves that I'd harvested myself, and I put them in a clear gallon container, and I put them on a shelf that had sunlight on it. And not bright sunlight. It wasn't like indirect sunlight, but it was getting light, I guess you could say. And one day I pulled off that container, and it was really interesting. It was like the side that was facing the light, and again, not direct sunlight, but just a light, light room. The side that was getting that was noticeably paler in color to the back side that was, in complete darkness. And so that was a learning lesson for me. So yeah, it's a good idea to keep all of your herbs in a dark place.
Let's see. Would this be helpful would turmeric it would be good to add to a salve for knee pain or back pain, etc.?
Sounds like a good idea to me. I would also take it internally personally, but.
Let's see. Oh gosh. So with arthritis, how much turmeric are you talking about taking? Anne asks.
Yeah. So how I recommend pretty much working with any herb is that you start with a low amount. You take that for a while, see how you feel, and adjust that amount. So you might need to take more, might need to take less, but basically you're looking for a time when you're getting the results you want without any adverse effects. So, the dosage really depends on people. I've seen people take as much as 10 grams. Generally, that larger dosage, like 10 grams, is for a shorter period of time. So someone might find like they take 10 grams for a month. Just as an example, and then they can start weaning off of it, or getting a much slower dose. So there is kind of this give and take. It's always a great idea to work directly with an herbalist so that you can work with somebody who can really create a personalized plan for you and figure out these, help you figure out these dosages. But if you really want to like DIY with turmeric, that's what I do, is start low, maybe a couple grams, slowly increase over time, see how that affects pain. And then, of course, you want to decrease if you get those intense symptoms of dryness that I shared, like dry eyes, dry skin, etc.
There's a question here about, because we're talking about HerbMentor, and we're wondering if they get email heads up about these events that we do. And yes, that's exactly it. Most of the people here got the heads up email that I sent yesterday and a half hour before about when we do these, to give some warning and plan. But this is what HerbMentor's, this is a really tiny part of it. There is a great community forum where you can ask questions when you have it. And Rosalee pops on there from time to time. And we have some great herbalists there, like Lee is there answering questions a lot. We also have Rosalee's monographs. So say, for example, she has, you can only fit so many monographs in a book, and with 29 in alchemy, am I got that right?
Yeah, something like that. And I forget too.
But on HerbMentor, there are dozens, and they're even longer because we can fit more information on the web because we're not having to print it on paper, and we can, and Rosalee adds to it every month. So it's like a living, a living monograph library happening every month. And gosh, I mean, the courses, there are lots of different courses on different subjects, and not things you have to be, I'm signing up for a course and I'm going to work really, it's more like podcast style courses where you can kind of put on in the background and listen to. You can do a little at a time, do some of them, and they're just for you, your enrichment and your learning anytime you want. We have those with a lot of amazing herbalists. And there's also, gosh, tons of other articles and, plant walk videos with amazing herbalists like Rosemary Gladstar. And it's just a great resource, and it costs like, less than half of Netflix, a month pretty much. But today, if you want to go to HerbMentor.com, we have the $10 off coupon for the annual, and the code is turmeric. on HerbMentor.co. So let's see. Micah was asking, how long does it take till you feel relief from the pain with turmeric?
Well, that's a good question. It is not an immediate actor like ibuprofen, so that's a good thing to note. But it does build on itself. So, you want to take it daily, maybe a couple times a day. And you should, for chronic systemic inflammation, you should start seeing results within a few days. But of course, there's the dosage thing. So you might, if you're taking it for a while and you don't notice anything, then you want to think about dosage. You want to think about herb quality, see if you need to tweak those things.
Thanks for what Tracy said. The amount on HerbMentor, it's your go-to for everything, and the way to look at it, HerbMentor is not like, like, oh, I've got to learn everything on here. Like, that's impossible. The point is, like, learn when you're inspired, look up something when you need it. That's what it's there for you. So you wouldn't log on to Netflix and go like, I have to watch every movie on here. You just, when you're inspired and when you want to, and it's the same kind of thing. So Catherine, you mentioned once that adding marshmallow to nettle infusion would help offset the drying. Would this also work for turmeric?
It'd be worth a try. I more often, when I'm using turmeric, I'm using it more, with the healthy fats, since we know that that's a way to help it, increase its bioavailability. So, in things like golden milk, or making a paste with like olive oil, or also ghee, commonly used with ghee. So that's kind of more what I'm familiar with, but I think it's worth a shot to try it with the marshmallow.
Cool. Oh, I have to thank Brianna here. HerbMentor is the best thing to happen to the internet. I mean, thank you. Rosalee and I have been working hard on HerbMentor for like 12 years at least now. I 13 maybe. I don't know. It's a while, but we've been at it. And just a little thing we are working on here is Nate is our tech guy, and he's working on an app. So like, imagine you could download like from Google Play or iPhone. Oh, I turned my flashlight on by accident. And you could, it's the same site, but you could like stay logged in, so you could go in here and just tap HerbMentor, you'd stay logged in, and bam, you're on, and you could use a forum and everything on your phone or iPad. And that's something that we're hoping to have out in a couple months or something like that. So let's see. Liana, if turmeric has blood thinning properties, what needs to be considered if already taking aspirin for that purpose, or for more heavy duty meds like warfarin?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, it's very complicated. There's just not like a, black or white answer for that. And so when people start to have more complicated health issues and a complicated health history, I recommend working directly with an herbalist, because they're going to be able to really, look at the ins and outs of who that person is, what their current state of health is, what their current dosage is of other, medications, and be able to figure that out. It's because it's so complicated, and it takes really a long time of intensive study and experience too. You want to work with somebody who says, I've worked with 100 people who have issues similar to you. And, and they bring all of that experience to the table. So that's what I recommend in that situation.
Here's a dosha one, and you know about doshas. I don't know much about doshas. I studied Chinese medicine, but not Ayurvedic type of stuff. But for someone who's older and fits into the Vata dosha, what would a good substitute for turmeric be? And if you know the answer, Rosalee, you might want to say what a Vata dosha is.
Yeah, well, without going into it too deep, Vata doshas, that's an Ayurvedic constitutional analysis, and Vata people tend to be drier. And so turmeric is definitely not really thought of as a great herb for Vata people, because it's drying and they tend to be drier. So there is, again, that idea of modulating turmeric. And so having it with healthy fats, which could be very beneficial, like Vata dosha, it's often recommended to have things like oils and milk and ghee, etc. So that could work just fine. And then in terms of like what other herb, that's a hard one, because I don't know of any herb that's just like turmeric. I mean, it is its unique being, just like Catherine is a unique being. And so it's hard to find, that exact parallel. But I would think about, what are the qualities within turmeric that you're interested in? For example, if it's protective cardiovascular qualities, then hawthorn berry and leaves and flowers are wonderful. Kind of the same idea of this like nourishing, antioxidant rich, cardioprotective benefits. So that would be one example. So yeah, it kind of depends on, what turmeric is, amazing. There's a reason why I was able to do such a long presentation on it, and which, really barely touched the surface of turmeric, because there's so many other ways to think about working with turmeric. The reason why that was such a long presentation is because it does all of these different things. And so rather than finding that one herb that does exactly all of those things, you can think about those particular benefits that you're looking for. And undoubtedly, with all of the wonderful herbs that we have out there, there's something that you could find for that particular thing.
Cool. Someone was asking about making an Android app too. And yeah, we would do this both at the same time. It would be pretty simple. It would just be like, you wouldn't have to log in. It would look like this. This is just the HerbMentor on a web browser, HerbMentor on a web browser. And, like it works really good because you can just go here, go to the forum, go to any of the courses. And you can do this now. I mean, you could just log in and keep it on your home screen, add it to the thing for now if you want. But, you tap on that and it goes to the videos and whatnot. So let's see. So let's see. Tamara asks, curcumin is not astringent like turmeric, right? Just anti-inflammatory.
I'm honestly not sure. One way to know is by tasting it, because we can really taste astringency. Mm-hmm. And I can't say that I've ever tasted curcumin. So I'm not quite sure, but assuredly, like I mentioned, whenever you take this isolated chemical constituent, it's not going to have all of the benefits. And I saw one question, the questions are coming by so quickly, but I saw somebody wondering about, like, could you take curcumin and turmeric at the same time? Mm-hmm. And yes, the answer to that is definitely yes. And there are some companies out there that combine the two, like Oregon's Wild Harvest, which I have no affiliation with, but I do love them. They have a turmeric supplement that both contains the isolated constituent of curcumin, which means you're getting it in that more concentrated dose, but they also pair it with the whole root, and they also add black pepper to that as well.
I ask if anyone has a question that was further up that just and you're still on here, just paste it in again, because it's so hard to go up and find things as I'm scrolling here, because I just have a long scrolling thing, and sometimes I miss some of them, and I'm sorry if I do. A recent question by Elaine was, I seem to have a kidney stone, started Cleaver's tincture. Other recommendations?
Yeah, so kidney stone is a great time to work with an experienced practitioner, because there are different kinds of kidney stones. There's different symptoms. So that's something that is, I think herbs are a wonderful match for it, but something I think it's better to have more personalized suggestions, and, just so somebody knows, like, what is your health history and what's really going on for you, so they can really find that herbal person match.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually going to show this this statement. I think she means it to be a question. Is there any GI upset using turmeric or curcumin? I just want to say that I do have some GI upset with turmeric, and I always feel left out.
Aww.
I know.
Not your herbal best even.
It's not at this time. And I don't know if it's just a constitutional thing or if it's just how my body is right now, but I do test every once in a while. And because I'm always just like, I really want this to, I have lots of other great herbs. There's other herbs than just turmeric for things. One of my favorite regular ones, at least in the Ayurvedic herbal world, is like ashwagandha, that I love to take regularly, that agrees with me. But just, yeah, so you can have digestive upset. I'm not exactly sure what to do about it. So
it has a pronounced flavor, like there's nothing mild about turmeric. It's pungent, it's bitter. You don't just like take turmeric and think like, I don't know, it's not like eating grass, right? Like it's not mild or bland. So whenever that happens, we have our idiosyncratic reactions to those things. And sometimes it's just not a good match.
And the ratio to ginger to turmeric, I guess if you're taking them together.
I wonder if that's in relationship to the juice that I shared.
Oh, it might be.
Yeah, which I think I use like a third ginger to turmeric in the juice. That's just a taste thing, right? Because like too much ginger, it's hard to get down because it's too spicy. So if that was in reference to the juice, then that's about a third.
Yeah. Let's see. Tracy, will turmeric degrade when cooking?
Oh,
Temperature.
this is a lot of our spices actually increase their bioavailability when we heat them. And so
Wow.
a common way with traditional use of these spices is that you heat them in oil, and that's like the first step. So on HerbMentor, there's that recipe for making turmeric paste, and you'll see like that's kind of the first step is you make this paste with oil and heat, and then that can be used to make things like golden milk, which is often golden milk doesn't have to be junk warm, but it often is.
But with golden milk, like say, I mean, I was drinking golden milk. Actually, that is not that works for me. If I use golden milk,
there's brilliance in that traditional recipe, right? Those recipes that have been used for thousands of years. Like it's just this whole form that's helping to like modulate some of that drying and more intense features of turmeric. So a lot of brilliance in that.
But like, okay, so in that case though, with the amount of turmeric in a cup of golden milk, if I'm having that golden milk, like, is that enough turmeric to take on a regular basis versus what someone might recommend to, take in with a capsule or a certain amount you might want to drink or put in your food?
Yeah. For maintaining health, 1 to 2 teaspoons of turmeric every day is phenomenal.
Right.
If you have an issue, like especially like something I just happened to work a lot with in clinical practice was with arthritis. Generally, people are going to be more turmeric, at least initially. As I mentioned, that was something I often saw is that people would end up taking a lot of turmeric for a short period of time for something specific like arthritis or ulcerative colitis. I saw turmeric work really well for that. Same thing, take a lot initially, and then find that after a while, they can start taking less and less turmeric without, getting their symptoms back. So for me personally, I have turmeric in my breakfast pretty much every day. We have like a veggie egg stir fry, and there's always lots of turmeric in that. And then I often do the juice, or I do golden milk, and I also will take supplements. So turmeric is one that I seek that out and get it into my life regularly. But I like getting it in all these different ways. And I'm, like some days I feel like golden milk, some days I don't. My husband started making golden milk ice cream.
Oh,
that's pretty yummy.
Why isn't that a thing out in the someone's got to do that?
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's a summer
golden ice cream. I think that's going to be one of the summer newsletters. Ooh,
he makes it with coconut milk. That's another fabulous milk to pair with turmeric.
Actually, yeah. Like, does he make ice cream with coconut milk?
Yeah. So it's a dairy-free ice cream.
I love that.
Coconut milk-based ice cream. Oh, it's so good, and it's so pretty too. Because the color. So, and it's not just turmeric in there. It's like cardamom and all sorts of stuff. So really yummy.
Oh, I prefer the coconut ice cream, like the better than I choose that when it's funny. It's like now I find myself, because of Kimberly's dairy free and Haley can have wheat. And so I find myself naturally buying gluten-free and dairy-free things. I don't have to, but I do because I'm just so used to it now. And I actually have grown to prefer. So golden milk, coconut milk, ice. Ooh, that's going to be good. You can tell I'm excited, right? This is a request that was asked earlier by Wendy. When you make a monograph for cloves, she was gifted 4 ounces. Could only find, as a side note, on HerbMentor. Oh, I think you got.
I came this close to writing a clove monograph this winter, and then it just kind of got bumped to do other ones. I will seriously consider that probably for this winter. I like when I write monographs, I like to do them kind of seasonally. So once things are fresh around here, I like to, be doing things with fresh plants, because I always like to write the monographs when I'm inspired about that particular herb. I will heavily consider that for this winter.
Nice. Barbara, I have your Wild Remedies book. Use it regularly. I recently moved to a tropical climate and can find none of my go-to plants. Is there any books you can refer me to? I'm going to get Wild Remedies.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about tropical books. I'm just not really sure about that. Yay.
Here's Wild Remedies, if those of you want. That's Rosalee's second book. I wonder what her third will be.
I wonder if anyone else knows about herbal books that kind of pertain.
Yeah, type in the chat thread if you have some. I think you do I feel like there's a tropical plant thing on HerbMentor, isn't there? Somewhere?
Yeah, was also going to say, I'm not sure where exactly she is. Cause if you're like
Yeah.
in Southeast Asia, that could be very
Tropics are
different than
big.
like, if you're in,
Well, you probably have turmeric.
yeah, maybe.
All right. Can using turmeric as a daily supplement cause eczema to flare up?
That's an interesting question. Turmeric is often used for addressing symptoms of eczema. But the thing about eczema, and again, working directly with a practitioner can be a great way to go. Because sometimes with skin stuff, they tend to get better before, or they tend to get worse. Sorry, they tend to get worse before they get better. But again, it's helpful to work with a practitioner because to help differentiate, between like, is this just making it worse? Or is this is this going through a process where the symptoms are increasing, but they're actually going to resolve and get better? So you often see that with dandelion root, burdock root, all of those can, be used for skin health, but they can actually increase the symptoms before it gets better. So that could be happening with turmeric, but generally eczema has a strong inflammatory component and it's often used to help with that situation.
I'm just gonna add in a second for the golden milk ice cream, and there's another one. And how about adding some cardamom?
Yeah, there
So
is
that's a good
cardamom in the
idea.
recipe. So,
All right. So Matt asks, what would be the best herbs for this winter weather? I have felt my body feel much drier and needing increased water intake.
Yeah, increased water and often, again, healthy fats too. Like that's generally a big part of this time of year too. So I'm often adding, somebody mentioned marshmallow root earlier. I'm often adding that to my teas. Pretty soon it's going to be violet season. That will be shifting, but violets are a lovely, wonderful herb for increasing moisture in the body. Oats are a good one. Of course, you can have oatmeal, or things like oat cakes, which I'm kind of obsessed with right now, or bannock bread, which I'm also obsessed with right now. But oat straw from the herbal world is another way to increase moisture. And an adaptogen that's really nice for overall treating or addressing overall dryness is shatavari. That's Asparagus racemosus, and that's a nice one too.
Don't forget to drink water. And often in the winter, we're inside and our heaters are on more. And my wood stove is on, and Rosalee's wood stove is on constantly throughout the winter, which dries things out and dries us out more. One of the reasons, I think.
One thing I do a lot in the wintertime, because I live in a super dry environment, which I kind of thrive under, but it can be pretty dry, is that once I get out of the shower, I'll dry off, but when my skin is still like a little bit moist, and I'll put an oil or a body butter. I'm actually using a body butter right now that Kimberly gave me. That's a recipe from her new book, Aphrodisiac, and put that on. And it, especially the body butter, because it's kind of a thick substance, put it on, it soaks into the skin. So it's not greasy, but having that kind of layer of oils on my body, it really helps actually hold the moisture in. So that could be another thing to do.
Let's see. Would it be a good choice to infuse it in honey? Currently obsessed with infused honey, and that sounds great with turmeric. I actually have not tried that before.
I think that sounds nice. I'm trying to think. I've never done it like the fresh plant in honey, but I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work. I have made a lot of preparations where you take dried turmeric powder and mix it into honey and ghee. So again, we're getting that fat in there, which is often recommended with turmeric. So that's kind of a traditional preparation, is mixing ghee and honey together and then adding herbs to kind of make this medicated ghee honey infusion.
Another vote for sharing the. So Leanne, it's coming. It'll be on Learning Herbs blog. That's why you always have to be subscribed.
Later, apparently.
That's why you have to say subscribe to the Learning Herbs email list and don't unsubscribe, because you never know what cool recipes and webinars and things that we are going to share. We have some great things coming up, some great plans. We're always creating new stuff. Do you know where to buy violet plants? I guess you could go to a nursery.
Yeah, so nursery, I really like the Viola odorata, which has that really nice smell. I've actually bought a lot of violet plants myself from Crimson Sage Nursery.
Oh yeah.
So I bought a lot from them. And then friends of mine not too far away from me have tons of violets. Like they planted violets like 20 years ago and they're everywhere now. That's where I harvest most of my violets from, as I head down there in April. It's like a mile from my house. I don't know. I'm making it sound like a trek. But anyway, head down there, harvest lots of beautiful violets. But I've been transplanting violets from their place. Every time I harvest, I ask them if I can dig some up and bring them over. So I'm hoping I will have my own violet forest going on. So I'm sharing this to say, if you know of someone that has violets, they do tend to get kind of weedy and they probably won't mind you digging some up. And then if you live in the United States, Crimson Sage Nursery is a good source for getting this plant sprouts. Then there's also strictly medicinal herbs. So I was just on their strictly medicinal seeds, that's Richo Check. I was just on their site the other day ordering some seeds, and I just happened to notice that he also has viola odorata, or violet seeds.
Vicky asked about, has everyone used ghee? Interested in trying that? Well, you can, try it you can purchase ghee at a health food store. You can buy it in a jar there, or you can make your own. And you could just probably Google a recipe, but if you're in HerbMentor and you look at the culinary herbalism course, anyone actually enjoying this turmeric talk might enjoy going in HerbMentor. It's part of your membership. You could, it's 10 episodes with KP Khalsa, and I believe there's a ghee recipe, and he talks about that in there. But if you don't want to do that, I'm sure you could just how to make ghee. Okay, show something up. But I just wanted to point out that is a great resource. Let's see here. Thank you, everyone, for your great questions and comments.
Asking about the turmeric no bakes. So yummy. That is definitely on the Learning Herbs Remedy blog, and I believe it's also in HerbMentor.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I saw that somewhere on there too. Let's see. I think I got a lot of the more recent questions in. I'm pretty sure did I ask this one? No, Nancy, does putting honey in it when you make the paste okay? So when you're making the turmeric paste, he's talking about.
Yeah, in that situation, I wouldn't do like a lot of heat on the honey personally. So I might mix it in after the heat, after you take it off the heat.
So there's this question. You did talk about anti-cancer properties, but I thought this may be good opportunity to just talk about herbs in general and using herbs in such situations.
Yeah, so another great example of when it's great to work with a practitioner, and we're really lucky that in this day and age, there's a lot of people who specialize specifically in people who have cancer. And so they dedicate their whole lives to that specific subject. And in that, it's so sophisticated what they're able to do now. Is this question was specifically about breast cancer, but there's all types of different kinds of breast cancer. And so they're able to look at the person, look at the type of cancer, look at the stage, and really help formulate a plan that usually isn't just about one herb, but, this whole inclusive plan looking to address health. So I would definitely work with a practitioner. A lot of the studies that have been done on turmeric have actually been done on curcumin, and looking a lot of in vitro studies. So with that, as I mentioned in the presentation, we can say what we can extrapolate from that is that, okay, we can see from this in vitro research, which means, essentially working with, things in a petri dish outside of the human body, is that we can say we see that curcumin has beneficial effects against breast cancer, all those cancers mentioned. But we don't know what that means when we put that in the body. What does that mean when we take turmeric as a whole herb in the human body? I have no doubt in my mind that there's going to be benefits there, but we don't have those confirmed in human clinical trials, which is, what a lot of researchers are calling for right now. So I guess my answer is twofold in that best to work with a practitioner. The research that we have is more skewed towards curcumin, and but I definitely think, and especially in a preventive point of view, that taking turmeric every day is a great idea.
Question from Desiree: can turmeric be used for children? Sorry, Desiree, sometimes it's hard to see every question coming in, and then I see them oh, so thank you for the reminder.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. You know, turmeric has an interesting taste. I think, it's lovely in curries and added to food and stuff. It could have a strong taste though. So I don't know, you might have to kind of do something with it. It might not be, super friendly on younger palates.
Like you say, like my daughter's pointed out, there wasn't a turmeric herb fairy for all the little. Well, actually, I will tell you. I should put myself on the screen here. I have to add it to the herb fairy set. Last year, Haley got on, my daughter, and did a how to make your own herb fairy adventure. And so your daughter could to make up the turmeric fairy. That would be cool. Name her, him, and or whatever gender, and basically, yeah, you could do that. And I have to put that on the site. It'll get on there eventually. We did a live last year where Haley shared that, and it's just something I have to. Thank you for reminding me, because I totally forgot to add that, and I have to better do that, because Herb Fairies is coming soon. Our little presentation, and a friend of ours is on here. Oh, Angela. Angela is going to join us. Angela Rahim, as you see, is on here on this presentation, and she lives in Baltimore and has written a really cool herbal children's book, and she's going to share that, as well as we're going to with Kimberly. We're going to talk about herb fairies, and that'll come like later April, and that's going to be coming up too. All right. So Angela says, "Hey, all right, well, there are just a few other questions. Rosalee, can you work with clients remotely?"
Yeah, I used to do that years ago, and I took a sabbatical when I wrote Alchemy of Herbs, and then I never got back to it. So I didn't plan on stopping, but so I don't currently. I highly recommend Thomas Easley and anyone at his clinic, and they have a lot of resources there. They even offer a free student clinic. There's also a listing of herbal practitioners on the American Herbalist Guild website. And a lot of people these days do remote work. Even before the pandemic, herbalists do a lot of long distance consultation. So that definitely exists out there. And I wanted to mention too, specifically for cancer, if you all don't know about it, the Mediri Foundation in Oregon, they're in Ashland, Oregon, but they do remote consultations as well. And the Mediri Foundation, they have a lot of practitioners who focus primarily on using botanicals for cancer. So I would recommend them as well.
How do you spell that? I'll type that into the
Mederi, I believe, Mediri. That's Donnie Yance, John. Let's see.
Oh yeah, Donnie. Yeah,
who also wrote a book on cancer and botanicals. I can't remember. It's kind of it's like the healing power of botanicals and cancer or something like that.
I got it wrong there. Someone can look it up and paste the right link in there. Thanks for your help. That would be cool.
One question. Mrs. Newton said, if taking turmeric daily for arthritis and knees, is 570 milligrams too much?
Yeah.
570 milligrams, that's a half of a gram, more or less. And so what I'm recommending is up to 10 grams. So a half of a gram is very little. And myself, I'm kind of aiming just myself. I don't have arthritis. I'm not taking turmeric for a specific health problem. I just really love turmeric and think, believe in its preventive powers, I guess. I'm aiming to get 1 to 2 grams a day. So if you're taking it for a specific thing, I'm not saying you have to take 10 grams. For some people, 10 grams is going to be way too much. If I gave John 10 grams of turmeric, he would not like me, because so I'm not saying you have to take that much, but I start with a little bit, take a little bit more, take a little bit more, and see how it goes. But yeah, half a gram is very little. Now, if somebody told me I have arthritis, I take a half a gram of turmeric every day, and I no longer have arthritis, great. That was like one of my things in practice. I never argue with what works because obviously that person is getting plenty of turmeric for them. But if somebody comes to me and says, I have arthritis, I'm taking a half gram of turmeric a day, and I still have arthritis, I'm going to say, yeah, that dosage is probably far too little.
I am putting, where did my screen go here? I put Thomas Easley's information for a clinic, and also KP Kalsa sees people too remotely.
Yes.
And I have worked with Thomas's people and KP's people for my own personal health at different times, and they're both wonderful. So I can
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for remembering KP there.
Yeah.
So yes, Catherine, 1 gram is about a teaspoon. That's kind of a rough calculation there.
All right. Rosalee's been wonderful. I really appreciate the time you've taken out of your time to do this. And some people might be wondering, is this a regular thing? When do we do this? Well, it is regular, but we don't tell you how it's regular or when it's going to happen. We like to surprise people, and so we put it out there. But if you're an HerbMentor member, we will definitely email you at least a day before and give you a warning. But it's okay if you miss it. You can always watch a replay in the same link that we send you, and you get that when one of the many parts of membership. And you can join HerbMentor. Whoa! I saw another thing here. One more. We got another question here because there's person asked a question 3 times. So I think some might not have been coming through, and so it's weird because we're using a piece of software that the comments come from different places, and sometimes they don't pop in. So wondering if turmeric can help someone with liver cirrhosis from hepatitis. How is turmeric protecting the liver? That's a great question.
How is turmeric protecting the liver? That is a great question. We often don't know the exact chemical pathways or everything that's happening, but there is specific research out there. As I mentioned with the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, they were looking specifically at biomarkers like AST and ALT levels. So what I recommend, I'll kind of give you a DIY that you can do this yourself, is you go to pubmed.com, type in turmeric and liver, and look at what comes up. You can even type in something more specific like liver cirrhosis. I'm betting there's going to be something in there about that. So that's a great way to get that more specific, but I do know that turmeric is used for cirrhosis and is used for hepatitis. So that would be a good avenues to do further research in if you're looking for the exact ins and outs of how that works.
Oh, great. Well, I'm glad we got that question in before we finished up. Again, everyone, replay. When we're finished here, someone asked about New Zealand. When this is finished and I hit the off button, I think you can just refresh your screen and then the whole thing shows up because it's either broadcasting straight to our Facebook Learning Herbs page and also to our YouTube channel as well. And again, if you aren't not an HerbMentor member, you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you. Little deal on the annual version of the membership. You can get $10 off the coupon code turmeric. And I'm just have that up for today. You can go anytime today. Check out HerbMentor.com. See if you like it, what you see. And if you don't, you can just, cancel and ask for a refund and do that immediately for you. It's always worth a shot to check it out. We'd love to have you there. And there's a forum there. The forum's been there ever since we've started HerbMentor. It's been there. The forum, Rosalee, was there before Facebook. I mean, it was there.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Because I think HerbMentor started in 2007, and I think Facebook started becoming popular in 2008 or 9, and especially way before Facebook groups and forum and things. So, and that's been a great community, and it's private. There's no social media people watching you. It's all our own, and you can have your own screen name if you want, and you can do case studies if you want to research an herb in more depth for a certain health issue or thing. It's a great place just to ask questions. And one of the best things about HerbMentor, and Rosalee is the poster child of this, is that by going and helping other people by answering their questions, even researching the question and answering it, if you don't know it, is a great way to learn. And so one of the great ways to learn from a lot of different angles is by helping other people. And Rosalee, she was I didn't understand that until she invented that in my when it comes to forums anyway. And and then the next thing Rosalee's teaching courses on HerbMentor, then she's got books, and and so Rosalee and I have known each other for at least about 15 years or so, about when Haley was 16 now, so she's about 1, I think we met. And yeah, so, and you can do that too, you can go and answer people's questions and work on projects and things. And if you got some ideas, you can run by us, see what we think, whatever, I don't know. It's a great playground. So Rosalee, I'd love to just wanted to ask you, I don't want me to put you on the spot, but what would you like to close us out with? Any thoughts?
Oh, that was such a great ending already. I love what you said. But I guess to bring it back to turmeric, I would recommend you've all just spent all this time listening about turmeric. So really what's I think so important now is to go try turmeric for yourself instead of, simply listening to me about it, because really your interactions with turmeric are going to be the most informative. So there's all these recipes on HerbMentor. You can just simply add it to the food that you're already cooking. I saw someone mention that they put it on rice for their kids and they love it. So, so many ways you can enjoy turmeric. Of course, recommending that whole spice, but give it a go. Try some turmeric, see how it goes. See if it's going to be your next herbal best friend. Maybe it is already, and you want to try it in a new way that you haven't tried before. So I would love to hear about your experiences with turmeric in the HerbMentor forum. So be sure to drop in there and leave a note about how you're getting along with turmeric.
All right, thank you, Rosalee, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being an HerbMentor member. And we've got lots of amazing things coming this year. At the end, I usually like to say things that nobody knows anywhere else. So I just we talked about Thomas Easley before. Secret, Thomas Easley is working on a course for HerbMentor right now, a 10-part course. And I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but just know it's coming. So later in the year. All right. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, John. Bye.